Natural cat. Natural.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, natural. Hi, this is
We
Tim.
haven't started yet.
Tim.
Okay.
Tim, hi.
Hello.
Hi, this is Tim Good, who is a friend of mine.
Is my hair going?
Yeah, it's fine. This is about the fourth take, for various reasons, and there may be some banging and drilling in the background whilst Tim and Cara's bathroom is being installed. Anyway, Tim wants to talk to you because you have your own business. Tim started the Nothing But brand and took a bit of a turn, having left, took a turn. Changed direction after he studied law.
Mid-20s crisis.
Yeah, so after you studied law, you then went out and set up your branding company, which was a big change from what you were doing anyway, and then you went on to set up the Nothing But brand. So that's why I wanted to talk to you really, to really understand how you got to where you are now, and why you do, what you love about it. Can you just explain briefly how you did get to where you are now?
Okay, so left uni and I wanted to start a business. Well, I didn't actually intend to start because I knew I wanted to start something, but I actually intended to go travelling or something like that after uni. But then just suddenly started writing this business plan for a web design company, and so I could do that because it was a service-based business and it didn't require any kind of startup capital or anything like that. So I started writing it, and then I think I got my first job from a referral. So to design a website, then that just kind of took off, and about 3 years later I had more of an overall branding business, and then that got to about 2008, 2009 as the recession came. So everything kind of branding and marketing started going a bit downhill. So the business was going really well up until then. And then I thought to myself, I wanted to get into more retail market. So really less to do with customers and less to do with myself, more to do with selling a product, which is about building a business up and building value up in a business. So I started Nothing But because I knew to begin with I was going to start Nothing But Padlocks and selling padlocks online, but then I wanted to be able to expand into more things, so I trademarked Nothing But anything. So the trademark for Nothing But computers, Nothing But cups of tea, Nothing But anything is mine, and that's where I am now really, and I've been doing that for 3 years.
Okay, cool. What I really like is the fact that you just say that you went out and set up a branding business. You didn't have any training doing that, so how did you go about training yourself up to do that?
I mean, well, designing a website is purely technical. There's nothing, if you get into it, there's nothing stopping anybody from doing it. There's nothing stopping anybody from doing anything that's physically hands-on and doesn't require necessarily training, where you can just train yourself on the internet, which is what I did. I did work in a web company before university, but it was more like inputting data, so it wasn't really designing sites or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just kind of self-taught really, and simple websites for small businesses were like brochure sites, really simple. And then I'd bring, for more complex stuff, I'd bring people in, and after 3 years I had a team of people in an office which, doing more specific stuff that I'd never be able to do myself.
Okay, cool. So what do you like about what you're doing now?
Well, the branding business was great, and it was great work, and dealing with how brands affect different businesses and the people aspect of it, but this is totally opposite. This is purely selling a product, and I don't work with anybody. I work here in my house, and so that side of it is not great because you don't get that interaction. But on the flip side, I manage my own time. I can get out of bed at midday if I wanted to. Not that I do, but I could do if I wanted, or I can take the afternoon off to do whatever I like, and that's the benefit of it really, managing your own time. And if you want to go really hard at it and work really hard, 80 hours a week, because you're really into it for a couple of weeks, you can do, or you can chill out for a couple of weeks.
So if you're in that environment and you are working by yourself, what really drives you, and what keeps you motivated, and what keeps you kind of pushing forwards? Because I know that you've got ideas and you want to expand the business in different areas. What drives you to do that?
Well, it's the end goal, really. I think people have different end goals, and I want to really, in the long term, I want to get into philanthropy and start getting involved in some of the projects, like some conservation projects, some other social projects. And to do that, I want to be able to do it wholeheartedly without having to worry about paying bills. So really, at the moment, I'm just trying to generate as much cash as physically possible until I'm about 35, and then I'll go off and do these projects with enough money in the bank not to really have to worry. So that's what kind of gets me up, and I think, yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. But then at the same time, it's still exhilarating taking risks and with business and seeing them pull off, and that's kind of, on the short term, is interesting.
So when you set up your branding business and when you set up Nothing But, what were the risks involved? And what research did you do to figure out if it was a good idea or not?
Yeah. The branding business, there wasn't an awful lot of risk because there was no outlay. I would work from home, and I'd set up a business bank account. I would go out trying to speak to different people. I'd go to like the Chamber of Commerce dues. All of that doesn't cost anything. You just about networking, getting out there, and then referrals. Then there was risks in terms of kind of expanding, of course, and I used to take out lump sums out of my credit card to try and fund that, and the first few years were pretty difficult. But of course, you just play it as it goes. Starting up the online business was more difficult because then you had to have an outlay to buy stock, sell your stock for more, buy more stock, and slowly work it up. But of course, I'd built up the design business by then, so I had some cash sat around.
Yeah.
But then again, anything in e-commerce, selling online, cash flow is not a problem, and cash flow is the biggest killer of a business. And when you're selling something online, you've sold it before you even ship it.
Yeah.
So online businesses, or ones that are successful, don't have cash flow problems. So really, there's very little risk in what I do, to be honest.
So taking Nothing But as an example then, did you go into it with absolute confidence, or did you have a plan B if that wasn't going to work out? I guess you had the branding business behind you, but...
The branding business was already tailing off really because of the market, and I would have never been able to survive compared to the big boys that can take 2 or 3 years worth of loss, whereas I couldn't. But no, there was no plan B. It was just a case of if this didn't work, I knew that I could sell a product online better than the competition. So if there wasn't a market of padlocks, I would have quickly moved on to the next one. And if that didn't work, I'd move on to the next one.
Yeah.
One of them would come off. That was my plan B, really. But I don't know, if something doesn't work, you get back on the horse and you do it again until it does work. And then when you find the one that does work, you run with it like hell. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. So I found something that worked, and I'll run with it until the day that either competition gets me out of the market, or, I don't know, Google falls over, because I rely completely on Google.
So I know you've talked about doing other things with the business, but where do you get your ideas from? Where does your inspiration come from? And where is your best kind of place to think?
I would like to have more time to think, and back in the early days I used to have that time, but now the business has taken off, I don't. So the best place to think, I don't know, any time that I'm completely undistracted, like in my camper van when there's no internet or mobile reception, or on the train is good, then, or if I'm in other meetings that aren't in relation to the business, because I also work with a charity, and then your mind starts to tick over and come up with all these ideas. So it's any time that's completely detached from the business. And I used to purposely go on a train ride to a random town and leave my phone purposely just to get that time away, so you've got no distractions. And now I don't have that time, so I am looking to kind of get myself back into that position.
Okay, yeah.
Where you can, if you just sit in a blank room and you've got nothing to do and you've got no distractions, your mind can only go one direction, and that's to think of ideas and things. So it's just a case of just affording time without distractions, really, and I don't have it at the moment, but I hope to regain it.
Challenges then. What do you think some of the biggest challenges are that you've faced? And I'm interested particularly because you are a one-man band.
Okay. I mean, I'm the only employee of the business, but then I work with, various different people in terms of supply chain and my warehouse and things like that. But yeah, especially in the other business, or at least in a business where you're 100% shareholder, regardless of how many people you've got working around you, then the risk is all yours. So should you come across a problem or some liability issue, I don't know, anything in business that's quite stressful, then all of that lands on your shoulders. So if you think of any problem in life, if it's a family issue, then you all group together and get through it. And that's why family issues, you can always deal with it no matter how bad. But with business issues, some of my most stressful moments have been in the business, and you think, well, why? It's only work, that's all it is. But 100% of it comes down your shoulders, so that's the one thing I would say.
And how have you dealt with that then? How have you got through that?
It's just learning, really. To begin with, I would get really stressed over a small thing, and you've got to deal with it because there's nobody else that can deal with it. You've got to sort it all by yourself, and then after a while you soon realise that life's more important than what goes on, and you avoid risk. Not avoid risk, but you avoid, whereas if a customer came back today and was being really argumentative and clearly it was his fault and so on, rather than arguing it and threatening to go to court and all of these things that you could do, you have to say, there's more important things in life. Just let it go.
Okay, and I guess that's where
move on.
Yeah, your lifestyle and kind of kicks in, and you go out and you enjoy yourself and do all the crazy stuff that you do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. You work to live, you don't live to work, and if you can take a deep breath and remind yourself of that, suddenly it all makes sense and it's not so difficult anymore.
So with that in mind and all that kind of steep learning curve that you went through, and presumably still kind of learning now, what advice would you give, or what was the most memorable piece of advice that you were given when you first started?
I don't know, it sounds really cheesy and cliche, but I tell people about how I started my business and they go, oh wow, that was really clever how you did that, and it's not, it's just about doing it. Anybody can go out and do it. I mean, frankly, you could go out and start designing houses. There are architects out there that have never even been qualified as architects and they're celebrated. You can just go out and do it, and if you've got enough passion about it and you're willing to take a little bit of a chance, then the likelihood is you're going to succeed. And it might look like, oh my god, you took this huge risk, but if there's demand out there, you're good, and as I say, you've got enough passion, then that's my advice, just go out and do it.
And what advice would you give to somebody in my situation, say somebody who doesn't quite know if they actually do want to have their own business, or if they want to be working for somebody else, or in fact still trying to establish what their passions are? What advice would you give to somebody like me who's trying to figure out where to go next?
Well, I don't know, if you think figuring something out is just purely getting to what you really want, and the only thing that's going to be blocking that is some sort of apathy, either about the risk or whether you should do, pressures from family or social pressures about what you're expected to do. So you just need to get yourself in a really relaxed state where none of that really matters about any expectation, and then just say, what do I actually really want to do? And then suddenly, if you were thinking about starting a business, you're going to be much more fired up about doing it because you're totally confident that it's what you want, and then suddenly you'll just go and do it, and all of these kind of uncertainties will be thrown out the window. But yeah, I don't know, pressures like family. I was lucky because my family didn't expect me to go in one direction or the other. So if I said, I was going to start a website selling padlocks, which most people at the time said, they didn't say that, or a couple did, said that's ridiculous. I was lucky because my family didn't question. They were just like, okay, if you think it's a good call, go for it. But other people might not be in that situation. So I think just reducing all the apathies and expectations before making a decision, or the decision will come more easily.
Yeah. I've got one last question.
Yeah.
Who would you say is your biggest inspiration? And it could be someone you know, or
yeah,
dead or alive, male or female.
There's too many on different levels, really. my stepmum, because she's just really successful in her own right, and she's just gone out and got what she wants, and she just enjoys it, and so she's just been uber successful because it oozes out of her when she does what she does, and if you enjoy what you're doing, then that's it. Then there's my mum and her partner. They've started businesses up from the start. They started a petrol station, then they started a computer games business, then they got into some property development, then they started a restaurant. Now they're selling vitamins online. Every single one of them have been really successful. But again, just because, and they've all been home-based businesses actually. But then I've got different people I admire in different areas really. That I admire a friend called Dean who goes climbing, but not for a business sense whatsoever, just because he's such a composed individual. And I see a bit of that in our friend Jamie also. I admire that a lot, but obviously that's got nothing to do with business, but I think...
Lots of inspirations.
Yeah,
from
lots.
different areas.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, Tim. Thank you.
Cool.
Nothing but padlocks, nothing but safety glasses, etc. I have to confess, when I looked for your website, I actually googled everything but padlocks, which came up with quite a lot. So,
I think so, yeah.
Hi Tim. Hi.
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 You just start again because I was pulling the face when you first started doing that.
Cat. Tim. My friend Tim. Good. Fuck.
What do you want to do?
And I feel like a bit of a dick. Tim. You're not Philip Schofield.
It's too serious.
I've got look.
This is good!
Oh god, I put my questions on.
Shall I finish off what I was on about?
Yeah.
What was I on about?
I don't know,
Okay.
Let me get back into my iPads.
One job off the list. She's not going to be a journalist.